Hey everybody, this is Rustin with Metalholic and the Examiner, and with me tonight, the lovely and talented Laura Wilde, all the way from Australia, now living in Los Angeles and tearing up the countryside. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Absolutely wonderful. It's a Friday night, great night for music, so I'm honored to get a chance to talk with you a little bit because you've got a whole lot of stuff going on.
Thank you for having me so much. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. For the second straight summer, you are out on the road with the Motor City Madman, Ted Nugent. Clearly, he has taken you under his camouflage wing to some extent.
Yes, indeed. Well, Ted is a great artist to learn from. Everything from his showmanship and performance and playing ability are just flawless and energetic. So wherever I can learn from him, it's a great opportunity.
Well, and that leads to my first question. What perhaps is the biggest tip or trick you've learned from him as a guitarist or a musician so far?
Well, probably the biggest tip was I watch his live performance every night and I just see how he puts his heart and soul and personality and just puts all of that into his lead guitar playing and into his live show. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've taken away from touring with Ted.
So for those who do not yet know who Laura Wilde is, let's go back a bit. You've actually been playing music since you were basically in diapers, correct?
Yes, well, I've always had a love and passion for guitars, although I wasn't allowed to officially start playing until I was 12, but that just made me crazily obsessed and drove me to insanity. So when I finally got my hands on one, it was game over, and I haven't really put the thing down since.
Right, you started out with piano, I think, and you played, you're a multi-instrumentalist. You played all the instruments on your debut album, Sold My Soul, but guitar has always sort of been your weapon of choice. Why? I have no idea. I guess I can trace it back to my own first guitar memory was watching Lenny Kravitz in the Are You Gonna Go My Way video, and everyone's going crazy in the audience and they're all just having a rockin' fun time, so I just wanted to really be a part of that. And then, apparently when I was a baby, my mum bought my brother a toy guitar for his first birthday, or was it his second birthday, because I wouldn't have been born yet. But and I grabbed it from him, and that thing was like my teddy. So was there ever a time when you considered any other path for your life? I mean, I know you went to school for a while, but music always seems to have been your journey. Did you ever consider anything else?
Well, there were times when I got distracted from music. I wanted to be a plastic surgeon when I was 8, and I actually wanted to be an astronaut in that year as well. But, I mean, that would have been a totally different path.
So you got your first guitar at the age of 12. Do you remember what the first song was you taught yourself?
It was When I Come Around by Green Day.
Nice, good one. And you have, at least on the first album, we'll talk about the upcoming second album in a minute, but on the first album you had a lot of sort of punk influence along those lines.
Yes, definitely. Well, I grew up listening to 90s bands like Green Day, Foo Fighters and Nirvana, so they were probably, and then, there were bands like The Hives, The Vines, Jet, and bands like that, so they sort of shaped me in my teen years.
Right. Now, every guitarist seems to have a particular guitar that is their go-to guitar, and I've seen you with your Dean Markley ML quite a bit, your Les Paul, your Flying V, your Flying W even, but which one is your favorite?
I'd have to say right now I've grown a very strong attachment to the Dean ML. I just picked up the Straight Six about 2 days before we went on tour with Fuel. So that thing's like, it's an extension of me now because I played it every night on the road and now I just can't live without it.
Yeah, and that's the way it is sometimes. Now, is there a different choice between live versus studio?
I guess, well, right now I'm just doing the live thing, but when the studio time approaches, I think I'll bring that live connection into the studio with that guitar, I'm assuming.
Right. Well, I know you watched the Dave Grohl thing, and we're talking about recording live because it's definitely more organic than the whole Pro Tools cut and paste thing that's become all the rage. Are you going to try and do much of your new album live, sort of raw like that in the studio?
I'm hoping to, because, I mean, you listen to studio albums and then you listen to live albums, and, I mean, it's great as every studio album is. It's just that live thing's got that little bit of something extra, and it's the energy that's in the room, and then the band that's playing sort of feeds off that, and that's really captured in the live recording.
Now, I know that at one point you were talking later this year, I believe, that you were going to start working on the sophomore album, and I know you've been writing like a mad woman. What can you share with us so far?
Well, it's going to be as gritty and raw as possible, and we're hoping to get some big names on this one, so stay tuned.
Yeah, I heard. I said that was going to be my next thing. I understand there might be some special guests. I've even heard Geezer Butler's name thrown around. Is there anything that you're allowed to share at this point?
Oh, not really at this point, but I'll definitely keep you posted once things firm up.
Nice. So now you've been playing a few of the new songs live, like I think Tragedy has been what you've been closing your show out with. How much of the new material are you currently testing out on the new tour?
It's pretty much half-half at this stage, so it's, I think, about 4 tracks from Sold My Soul, and then the rest are all new ones. And I think we're even putting in some more new ones for the TED tour, so keep your ears peeled for those ones.
Now, every songwriter is a little bit different. First off, as a songwriter, was there anybody that when you started writing, did you sort of look to specific songwriters for how they sort of put songs together? Or did you sort of come up with just your own style of writing?
Well, I'm drawn to those dissonant sort of punky sounding chords that the Queens of the Stone Age use, and Green Day and the Vines and bands like that. It's drawn from bands like the Kinks and the Trogs and Iggy Pop and the Stooges and Sex Pistols and stuff. But that's really where I've sort of been drawing my experience from at the moment.
Right, and then as a songwriter, it depends. Usually with a guitar player, the songs always start with a riff. But with a singer, the songs usually start with a melody or a lyric line, something like that. You're both. So how does it sort of work for you, or is it sort of a combination of both?
Well, yeah, it's pretty much comes from anything, really. I mean, the muse generally descends from when I have a strong emotional reaction towards something. Sometimes the song can come into my head when I'm half asleep, so I'll have to wake myself up and hum it into my phone before I forget the idea. And yeah, I can come up with a lot of guitar riffs when I'm just messing around and doing some practice at home.
Nice. So we are getting ready to do our second annual Top Female Guitar Shredders list, and you are on this year's list.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
I know you have been influenced by Slash, Page, Hendrix, Clapton, Stevie Ray Vaughan, obviously. Are there any female guitarists that have caught your eye?
Suzi Quatro is a bassist, and she certainly caught my eye when I was growing up because she just absolutely rocks. And female guitarists, there are a lot of female rhythm players, but I mean, nowadays you look at players like Orianthi, who's just phenomenal.
Right.
And there are actually a lot of guitar girls breaking through at the moment, so it's really great to see that coming onto the scene at the moment.
Absolutely. Well, you'll be able to see a list of them when we finish up this year's list. So.
Oh, very nice. I can't wait to see it.
Absolutely. And now, when we know your guitar influences, obviously, but was there anyone you looked to or tried to emulate when finding your own voice for singing?
The female musicians that I used to look up to when I was growing up were Shirley Manson from Garbage, Suzi Quatro, as I mentioned before, Joan Jett, and Gwen Stefani. I always loved No Doubt when I was growing up as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but for their vocal styling, or just because you enjoyed them? I mean, was there anybody that you sort of, when you first started trying to find your own voice, maybe tried to emulate a little bit, or you just came out straight with your own thing and just went with it?
The best advice, actually, that anyone ever gave me about singing was that it's basically your talking voice with a melody behind it. So I've tried to stay as true to that formula as possible.
Nice.
Because, yeah, it's like one of those things where you can try and emulate someone's voice, but then it doesn't really sound as good as theirs. It's kind of not you, so you just kind of tie yourself into knots a little bit.
So when you are not doing rock and roll, playing guitar, writing songs, all that good stuff, and getting to spend time with family, hopefully when you get time to go home, what are you passionate about outside of all of this?
Well, I'm very active, so I love to get outdoors as much as I can. I love going to the beach and swimming and hiking, and I've really got to stay away from video games because they tend to be a gigantic time suck for me, and I've become socially inept. So I really love video gaming, but I've got to keep away
Which is sort of hard when you're out on the road because there's not a whole lot else to do. So.
I know, and sometimes, people bring their Game Boy DSs on the road, and I'm sitting there watching them being like, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't watch them. So whenever I have time to play a video game, I just tell myself that I should be playing guitar instead. So I'll practice.
Well, speaking of practice, I know you're always trying to improve and get better with everything you do. You had said at one point that because you have a second guitarist with you when you tour, obviously, but
yes.
he plays a lot of the lead stuff during the verses and stuff like that. You do most of the solos and everything, but you said it's because you can't play lead while you're singing. Is that something that you're still aspiring to become adept at?
Well, I mean, I'm happy. I mean, I'm thrilled to share those lead parts with the guitarists that we have. And sometimes there are times when I just want to belt out a big note and just let the singing and the lead guitar playing sort of be this fusion that adds to the anarchy and, energy of the live show, and not really worry about having to do everything myself.
So now you've grown quite a bit as a singer, a songwriter, and a guitarist, not to mention as a person, obviously, since Sold My Soul was created, because I know it came out technically in 2012, but that was really like years in the making for that. So how much has all that growth impacted how the new record will sound?
Well, yeah, I've definitely matured a lot vocally, so that will add another dimension to the new record. And I've pretty much grown up a lot and had a whole different lot of experiences under my belt, so that'll all come through as well.
Right, yeah, I mean, going from spending your life in Australia to you've been in LA now for a couple, 3 some years. Definitely.
Going on tour, and it's just a whole lifetime away, really.
Right. So, despite your youth, of course, though, you've got a lot of experience under your belt already, obviously, because you were doing so many things before you even recorded the first album when you were back in Australia, and then, of course, all the experience you've had since then. What's the biggest thing you've learned on your journey so far?
Well, probably the biggest lesson was to always align yourself with people that believe in you as much as you believe in yourself, and to never forget who those people are, because, sometimes it's easy to lose sight of things, but then those people can pick you back up and keep you on track. Okay,
so 2 questions before we get out of here, just for fun. You once said you would love to be a member of Kiss for a night. Who wouldn't? That was my band growing up. What character would you take on for yourself?
I would probably be Paul Stanley. However, I did get all glammed up with my corset and my heels for a show, and I'd never worn heels to a show before, and I nearly tripped over and nearly broke my neck, so I was like, maybe I would wear flat shoes to play with Kiss for a night.
Well, it's like you always wonder, because, Paul's lover, Gene's the demon, and then, of course, when they added a couple different people to the band, Eric became the fox, so I always wonder, if you created your own character, what would it be, So.
Probably be my own character. Wow, I'd probably be venomous.
Venomous, nice.
Yeah.
All right.
With snaky eyes.
Perfect. Okay, so Slash or Dave Grohl, if you could pick only one to write a song with, which one would it be? Okay, you've really put me on the spot here, because I love both of them. I know you do. That's why we have to
I know, you're killing me. But I'd have to choose Dave Grohl.
Nice, great choice. Now, if I asked you got to sit down and spend an evening playing guitar, obviously I'm sure you'd probably go with Slash there.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where Slash wins.
Beautiful. Laura Wilde, the current album Sold My Soul is out on the road with Ted Nugent right now. What's going on for the rest of the summer when you're done with Terrible Ted?
Well, we'll be heading back into the studio and working on recording the next album, so stay tuned, everybody. Perfect. LauraWilde.com. Laura, thanks so much for taking the time. Be safe out on the road, and I will see you in my neck of the woods here on July 11th, and I'll look forward to seeing you then. Thank you so much. I'll see you then.